Advance and be recognized, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sitrep podcast, your forward operations base for all things military and historical wargaming. I am your host, Hürtgen Jim, and today we're featuring a wargame marking another 80th anniversary in World War II. This one, a lot of people probably haven't heard of, and even those that have would probably rather forget about it. I'm talking about the bloodbath in the Hürtgen Forest in November 1944. Our system today is Battlegroup by Plastic Soldier Company and Iron Fist Publishing, using 15mm. Specifically, we're going to be looking at some of the German counterattacks of early November, mounted around units of the 116th Panzer and 89th Infantry Divisions against the beleaguered Americans of the 28th U.S. Infantry. Now, I said the Hürtgen Forest took place in November 1944, but actually that's a gross understatement. This fight actually gets started as far back as mid-September, and although the battle officially ends in mid-December, when it's eclipsed by the onset of the much more famous Battle of the Bulge, some of these key objectives aren't taken by the Americans until February 1945. The Hürtgen Forest lies along the German-Belgian border, just south of the German city of Aachen and just north of the Ardennes Forest, which everybody knows, of course, from the campaigns in 1940 and 44. The American First Army has just reached this area after a swift advance across France and Belgium. Now they've cracked through the Siegfried Line and they are advancing into Germany with an eye to cross the Ruhr River and eventually reach the Rhine. Well, here's where things get sticky, and by that I mean slow, muddy, and very, very bloody. The Hürtgen Forest naturally has some very dense tree cover, it's very hilly, and this very dense terrain is sometimes cut only by the narrowest of roads or even dirt logging trails. The Germans are also now fighting on the outskirts of their home soil. Remember, we're now into Germany, so naturally their resistance has stiffened. Originally, the U.S. 9th Infantry Division made the advance into the Hürtgen Forest, at first just to support the southern flank of the Aachen battle, but now the Americans wanted the Hürtgen Forest for real, and the job fell to the 28th U.S. Infantry, or Keystone Division, originally raised from National Guard regiments out of Pennsylvania. They got the orders to go into the Hürtgen Forest on the 16th of October. Despite the autumn rains hampering airstrikes and the dense terrain making tank support all but impossible, the Americans actually made slow but steady progress in an advance generally to the southeast. They took the town of Voseneck and then pushed over the small Kahl River. Pushing further through the village of commemorate, they then approached the objective town of Schmidt, which 3rd Battalion, 120th Regiment of the 28th Infantry actually took with surprisingly little resistance on the 3rd of November. Little did the Americans know, however, that the Germans were preparing a powerful counterstrike, built primarily around Kampfgruppe Bayer. This was a typical ad hoc force drawn from elements of the 116th Panzer Division and Grenadier Regiment 1055, drawn from the 89th Infantry Division. The Germans hit on November 4th in a general pincer attack. Quickly, the Americans lost Schmidt and commemorate immediately afterwards. In fact, they were lucky to escape back up the logging trail leading towards the Kahl River. The Germans pressed their attack through the succeeding days, and that's the scenario that we have on our table today. So in this game, I'll be playing the Germans, advancing from the south out of the ruins of commemorate. I'll be pushing northwards along that timber trail, driving towards that American-held bridge over the Kahl River. Mark Ritchie, meanwhile, is playing the Americans, with surviving remnants of 1st and 3rd Battalions, 128th U.S. Infantry Regiment of the 28th U.S. Infantry Division. Now, he's going to have a handful of Shermans of the attached 707th Tank Battalion and a couple M10 tank destroyers from the 893rd Tank Destroyer Battalion. These units were in the area, but they had a hell of a time getting any armored vehicles up these narrow logging trails to support the infantry. Mark's trying to hold the logging trail that leads out of commemorate back north towards his bridge over the River Kahl. My objectives, meanwhile, are to take the trail, reach the bridge, and maybe even cross the bridge. So let's head over to the footage and let's see how our foray into the death force of Hürtgen plays out. Okay, here is our table. It is 6 feet by 6 feet. North is to the left, so we're basically looking from west into the east. And again, the game is presented in 15mm. So here are some of the basic features. We're looking at the Kahl River here at the north end of the table. I thought that bridge was a Bailey bridge. Turns out I was mistaken. That's actually a small European stone bridge that I should have had there. Here on the southern part of the table, we're looking at the ruins of commemorate. This is where the Germans are going to be attacking out of, pushing northwards along that logging trail. So let's take a look at the Americans. We're going to start off with a senior leadership team, a forward air controller team with a jeep, and we have a communications team with a small truck, and a forward artillery observer, also in a light truck. And then we have the standard American infantry platoon with 3 squads and a command squad, all in half-tracks. So starting off with the command squad, that also has a 3-man mortar team built into it. And then the 3 basic squads, 8 men each with a bazooka and a BAR. One of those squads also has a medic, and the other 2 have 2-man Browning 30 caliber machine gun teams. There's a T-19 self-propelled artillery piece for support, 3 Shermans of the attached 707th Tank Battalion, and 2 M10 gun motor carriages of the 893rd Tank Destroyer Battalion. The Americans will also have a P-38 ready for support. Heading over to the Germans, they also start off with a senior leadership team in their command half-track, a forward observer, and a communications team, both of them in Kubelwagens for light transport. And then they also have the standard infantry platoon of 3 squads plus a command squad, all of them in half-tracks. Now, obviously their squads are much smaller than their American counterparts, but they each come built in with a 2-man MG42 team, and of course they also have MG34s in their half-tracks. They have a 5cm mortar team attached there, and they are also accompanied by a medic to help out with casualties. Moving on, we come to a Flak 36 88mm gun and the ubiquitous 7.5cm infantry gun with horse-drawn transport. Then we come to 2 of the Jagdpanzer 4s. These are the earlier ones with the L48 style guns. 2 late war Panzer Mark 4s. These are the H variant, and rounding out with some self-propelled anti-aircraft support. Okay, starting off on turn 1, the Germans are on the attack, so they're moving first. We're calling this a company level game, so that gives us 3d6 for order dice, plus 4 for the number of officers the Germans have in their order of battle. Okay, for my lead units, I'm going to start off with my Jagdpanzer 4s, and their movement here is 12 inches. As long as they're on the road, they're starting off on road. I'm going to take a double order for their movement, but I do have to be careful of the Americans because they have 2 M10 tank destroyers. You see them there in that little valley and also on that ridge, so I'm going to have to be careful of them. I'll also move forward with my 2 Mark 4s. Now, here's a quick look at how terrain works. So they have 8 inches of movement off-road. I'm going to take a double movement order, but I will be going up that hill that's considered difficult terrain, so I have to take off a random D6 number of inches. So 8 plus 8 is 16. I'm subtracting 3 based on my roll there, so I'll actually move only 13 inches for that first Mark 4. So that pretty much puts him exactly where I want him. So there we go on the first one. Now the other one winds up with a tougher roll. He'll only move 10 inches, so he winds up short there at the foot of the ridge. So here's my senior leadership team. They do have the ability to call in artillery missions. They're considered inside that building on the 2nd floor, so they can barely see that artillery designation point that I have marked by my yellow dice. I'm considered second priority on the artillery table, so I need to get a 4 up in order to get a mission this turn. I've made that. Now I have to see how high up the chain of command I want to push my luck to see what kind of guns I get. I'm going to go for a divisional battery. That means I need a 4 up. Make that with a 6. Heading back to the table one more time. I love this push your luck mechanic they have for the artillery. Looks like I'm going to get a 4. So on the divisional artillery table, I wind up with 2 105mm howitzers. Alrighty. Unfortunately, the spotting round for my artillery mission is abysmal. 1 is, of course, the worst roll in the game. So I'm going to miss by 4d6 inches. However, now's a good time to roll low, because you add all that up, I'm only going to miss by 9 inches, and it affects everything within 10 inches. And it's going to be a short round at 6 o'clock. So measuring 9 inches from the 6 o'clock position from my initial aiming point, that's where the mission is actually going to land. So now I have to see what goes on with my mission. So it's 2 guns, they're each having a double fire order, they each fire twice. Alright, so a 6 is a killing attack, and the other 3 are going to be pinning attacks. Alright, so for a killing attack, I get 5 dice and 3 plus to score a kill. So here we go. Oh, get it in the box there, dude. Alright, so I wind up with 3 kills. That's going to be 3 figures removed, pending the saving check. So here comes the cover save table. Mark is going to roll 3 times. He's in soft cover, those hedges there. He needs a 5 plus. he gets no save, so that's going to be 3 figures removed from that 1st American Infantry squad there. Alright, now those other 3 attacks were considered pinning attacks, so I have to see what the other rounds did that didn't actually kill his figures. So looking at infantry, it's going to be a 3+ for a medium gun. Boom, that remains of that infantry squad are now definitely pinned. Let's take a look at their half-track. That's an open-top vehicle. That's also going to be a 3+. Boom, that half-track is also going to be pinned. So I'm moving forward with some more of my units, 1 unit per order, and again I have a limited number of orders. Some of my grenadiers are unloaded, some of them aren't. I managed to get that 88 up there on the high ground, happy about that. Now my actual forward artillery observer team is going to call in a mission, and that's the aiming point. Notice it's not actually on the unit, because I can't see the unit, it's blocked by this high ground there. But if I can at least get close, maybe I'll get him in the area of effect. Alright, so this is the 7.5 centimeter infantry gun. It's only 1 gun. There he is. So instead of 4 dice, this time I'll only get 1 dice on a double fire order. So let's see what kind of attacks I get. Rolling d6s, hoping for 6s. Come on, man, keep it in the box. Okay, cool. I actually did get 1 killing attack. Alright, so it's a smaller gun. I only roll 3 dice per killing attack this time, and now I need 4 ups. I only killed 1 figure, but Mark's going to make his save, so I end up killing nobody. Onto the pinning attacks, it's considered a light gun, so we find the light gun row. Infantry is a 4-up to pin now. Okay, I did manage to pin them down on that, so I didn't kill anybody, but they will be pinned down. Moving on to the American turn, they're going to start up with their off-board artillery mission. They also wind up with 2 105mm, and they are targeting my 88, because long story short, take your first shot, 88s scare people. Luckily for me, he rolls a 1, so his spotting round is also atrocious. So he misses by 4d6 inches. He winds up missing by 11 inches, which is great news for me because artillery affects everything within 10 inches, and with 11 inches he's going to miss my 88. So we measure 11 inches from the 5 o'clock position on our D12 there. That's where the mission is actually going to land. Now we have to see what kind of effects we're going to get. Alright, so he gets 4 attacks, again 2 105s. And he scores no 6s, so no killing attacks. The 1 is nothing, so he only gets 3 pinning attacks. They're centered there on that impact point, so now we have to start measuring outwards, again, everything within 10 inches, closest units first, what's actually going to get impacted. So the first unit is going to be one of my Jagdpanzer 4s. That's an enclosed vehicle with a medium gun. He needs a 5-up to pin him down. So he fails that. Then we go to my half-track. That's an open-top vehicle with a medium gun. That gets pinned down on a 3-up. And he actually does score a pin there. Alright, then we go to the other Jagdpanzer. Again, 5-up. And he scores a success. So we're looking at no pin on the Jagdpanzer, a pin-down half-track, and another pin-down Jagdpanzer. Okay, next, Mark is going to try and use one of his M10 tank destroyers to put an HE round directly onto my 88mm. So we measure the range, it's a little more than 30 inches. He has made his observation check. So now we're going to actually take a look at the chance to hit. He's taking a double fire order. So it's going to be 5-up with an HE shell at 30 to 40 inches. I do have some concealment though, so that goes up to a 6+. Alright, now he gets to roll 2 chances because again, he is taking a double fire order. And he does score a hit. Damn. Okay, so an HE shell has struck near that 88mm. It's 4 dice at 4+, and this gets applied against the crew. So now he's going to go ahead and roll his 4 dice. Again, he's looking for 4+. He scores 2 successes. Now I do get saves on that. Now here comes the Sherman, and the Sherman is also going to try and put an HE shell onto that 88mm. So, again, this time he's a little bit closer. He's within 30 inches, so it starts off at a 4+, knock that up to a 5+, because again, I do have some concealment there behind that dead tree and so on. So, he's, again, going to take a double fire order. He's looking for 5-ups, and this time he has missed twice. Awesome. Now, those Shermans do also have machine guns, and the way I have my cards marked out here, the little X's mean that that weapon cannot fire in conjunction with the main gun, and that tank has fired its main gun. But the check mark means that we do allow him to fire his BAL machine gun with 3 dice. We also know that we are looking at less than 30 inches, so we look at machine guns at less than 30 inches. 5+, make that a 6+, because I do have partial concealment, and Mark scores no hits. Now Mark is going to open fire with some of his infantry units, starting off with the pencil-mounted 50 cal on that half-track there. Alright, so pencil-mounted machine guns get 5 dice for their rate of fire. Make that 10 dice because it's a double fire order. So then we find the range. It's at 20 to 30 inches. It's a 5+. I'm kind of hulled down behind the lip of that ridge, and I have a gun shield. So Mark is looking for 6 ups now on his 10 dice. But he doesn't get any. It looks like that 50 cal is missed. Now the rest of the rifle squad is going to fire. There's 8 men in the rifle squad. The first one is a bazooka gunner. We leave him out of it for now. But one of the remaining guys is a BAR gunner. He counts as 2. So long story short, take your second shot. That rifle squad goes back to 8 dice for rate of fire. Again, double fire order, it'll be 16 dice, but again, it's pretty long range for small arms in this game. He's looking for 6 ups. Oh wow, he's rolling much better though. So he gets 2 on his first 6 dice, he rolls another 6 dice here, he gets another one, and he's going to get 1 more on his last 4 dice for 4 hits total. Now I have to make my saves. I'm partially screened by actual hills, and I have a gun shield, so we're going to call that hard terrain, and looks like I'm going to save for 3. So now I've done all the saves, both for the earlier HE shell hits and the small arms fire. Net, after everything, I wind up with 2 hits. Mark now goes to activate his next rifle squad. However, that half-track failed his observation checks, so he will not be shooting this turn. The rest of the rifle squad makes their observation check, however, and I won't go through the whole process again. You guys have seen how it works. But after all the shooting and all my saves, I wind up with 1 additional net kill out of my 88 crew. Now Mark is going to activate his second M10 tank destroyer. He has to move him on top of that ridge in order to get a line of sight on my 88. So again, it's difficult terrain. He has to subtract 1d6 inches off of his move. His move is 9 inches. Now it's 6 inches, but it's more than enough to get him where he needs to be. And now he's going to try to make his observation check to engage my 88. But he rolls a 1 on his observation check. Awesome! He will not be shooting at me this turn. Okay, we're now at the end of the American turn, and what Mark is choosing to do is to draw a battle rating counter, and this gives him a D6. He then rolls it, and he gets to unpin that many units. So he's rolled a 2, he's going to choose that rifle squad and half-track in the center of the field. However, the battle rating counter that Mark drew was an ammunition low counter. Great. So he gets to pick any one of my units. He picks my 75mm there. He rolls on the ammunition low table there, and he is going to score a almost empty. That 75 only gets 1 more shot for the rest of the game. Okay, so starting the German turn, I start off with my orders dice again. I don't roll as well this time, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful with my orders. I'm going to start off with my 88mm, which, okay, full disclosure here, guys, I do apologize. This is a rules mistake. I forgot about the last man standing rule. There's only 1 man left in that gun crew. That last man should have abandoned that gun, and the unit should be destroyed. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and engage that Sherman in the road there. We're calling it obscured because if I was hull down to him, then he's going to be hull down to me, and so on. Also, that tree is in there. So I have to roll to observe on a 2-up. I do manage to succeed there. Then I roll to hit. I need 5 ups, and I wind up with no hits. So that rules mistake ended up not making any difference. Alright, now I'm moving forward with my 2 Mark IVs. We're going to see if they do any better. I'm going to go ahead and start engaging that Sherman there, also on the high ground. Alright, so I did move, so I only get to shoot once, but both tanks shoot, and one of them does score a hit. Now, at this range, the firepower, or the armor penetration I should say, on an L48 7.5cm anti-tank gun is a 7. So what we do is we compare that 7 versus the side armor value of the Sherman. Clearly that's a flank hit there, you can see. And we're going to get a 5. So we subtract again my 7 from his 12, and that's the number that I have to either tie or beat. Actually, I have to beat on 2d6. So I easily beat it with an 8. That Sherman has been hit and is now on fire. But I cannot catch a break when Mark draws the battle rating counter, which he has to do when he loses a unit. He again doesn't draw one of the numbers. He draws another special counter. He draws an air attack, which means he now gets to roll to bring on his P-38 airstrike. Now his force does include a forward air controller, so that roll is going to be that much easier. Great. Now some of my grenadiers have moved forward with their half-track into this tree line, and what they're going to do is try and shoot through those hedges and engage those Americans across the road. We're at less than 10 inches, so my MG34 starts off at a 3+, however I did move, that cranks it up to 4+, and he clearly has soft cover, that cranks it up to 5 up. Also, because I moved, I only get to shoot once. I have 5 dice for a pencil-mounted machine gun, I score 1 hit. So soft cover is going to give him a 5+ to save, which he fails. Therefore, he has to take another figure out of that American infantry squad. And that will force a morale check. We haven't been showing all the morale checks on camera here, folks. We're showing this one because he does fail it with a 2. So looking at the morale table, it is going to be a pinned result. That rout surrender result only applies if the unit is already pinned, which it's not. Mark did rally it at the end of his last turn. Alright, now I'm moving forward with some more grenadiers. I'm going to basically rinse repeat with another squad. The squad failed its observation check. However, the half-track with his MG34 did not. Again, that's going to score 2 more hits. That's going to be 5 ups for Mark to save. And he fails both of them, so it's going to be 2 more figures knocked out of that squad and another morale check. You keep adding up these morale checks, you can usually break a squad before they actually run out of guys. Alright, however, he rolls a 4, which means that he has passed his morale check. Now, I'm really desperate to knock out that middle American infantry squad there, so I'm going to do something a little expensive and kind of desperate, and I'm going to use the tactical coordination rule. What happens there is you voluntarily draw a battle rate encounter, which is normally bad news, and that gives you a roll to possibly unpin one of your units early. But wouldn't you know it, I draw an air attack. This has been a crazy game. Neither player has drawn a single actual number. It's been all special counters. So I get a roll, and I make the roll to rally that pinned grenadier squad early, and they're going to move forward and engage that American infantry squad. Now, a little bit of a house rule here. Since the Germans don't have any aircraft really in late 1944, what we're going to do is we're going to interpret that airstrike counter instead as a mine strike. It just makes the game a little bit more historically accurate. The Luftwaffe doesn't make a magical appearance out of nowhere. Alright, so I roll a 6 on the mine strike table, which is very good news for the Germans. We look at the 6, and then it's critical damage. We read the rule that M10 tank destroyer is considered destroyed. So that M10 tank destroyer is now destroyed. That was also an officer that will affect the American order dice next turn. And I now move forward with my unpinned grenadiers and their half-track to engage the Americans across the road. But in summary, that wound up not working, so I try to call in an artillery mission instead. And here's where things start to get a little hairy. So I called in my artillery mission. We determined how many inches it missed by, and then what direction it missed by, and it wound up very short and much closer to my own units. So here is where we cancel the artillery mission. That's why you call in a spotter round at first. You actually don't call in artillery on your own guys, but I still lose all those orders. Next, I want to move this Jagdpanzer IV up onto some high ground where he can hopefully engage some American armor. Now again, that is difficult terrain up there on that high ground, which means I lose 1d6 inches off of my movement rate. Luckily, I roll a 1, which means I only lose 1 inch off of my off-road movement rate of 8 inches, leaving me with 7, more than enough to get him where he needs to be. Up on some high ground, and who knows, maybe he'll even screen that 88 position a little bit. Alright, so what I'm trying to engage is that M10 tank destroyer that you can hopefully see at the top center of your screen. He's in the open because we're both on the same elevation, so there's no hull down shielding or anything, and the range is a little bit over 30 inches. So to find the chance to hit at over 30 inches, looks like I need a 5 up. However, I did move, which knocks it up to 6 up, and I only get to shoot once because I did move. So, I did roll the required 6. Awesome. So that is a hit. And the penetration for the L4875 at this range is only a 6. However, that M10 is pretty thin-skinned with an armor of 11. 11 minus 6 gives me a target number of 5 to penetrate his armor on 2d6. And wow, with a 12, holy shit, he is hella toast. That's the end of him. And sure enough, he gets to draw another battle rate encounter, and yet again he draws a special counter beyond the call of duty. This game has been completely insane when it comes to battle rate encounters. So that means that any one of his units gets a free and full turn right now. So fortunately, I've taken out both of his M10s, which means he's probably going to pick one of his tanks to try and take a shot once again at my 88. Sure enough, he's going to take a shot on my 88, and Here he's going to roll the observation table, which we haven't shown so far, but he needs a 2+ to observe the 88 because it's a gun that is partially obscured that has fired. He makes that. Now he needs to actually hit. So we find the range, which is less than 30, which means he needs a 4-up. He's not moving right now. Technically, neither am I. I do have a little bit of cover. That's going to give him a 5-up to hit, but he does score the hit. And again, that's going to be 4 dice at 4+ to actually start doing damage on my crew. Actually, he's hit twice, which means he gets to roll 8 dice at 4-up, and he scored 6 hits. There's my save. I only saved for 2, which means 4 additional casualties are done on my 88 gun crew, which there was only 1 left anyway. So, long story short, take your 3rd shot. That is going to be the end of that gun crew, which technically should have been gone quite some time ago. So I'll finally draw a battle rating counter, and lo and behold, you'll never believe it, I actually draw a number. So I am now officially on my way to losing this game when my battle rating total reaches my breakpoint. And there we are so far, folks. As you can see, so far the Americans have been pretty lucky, not only with their dice rolls, but also with their battle rating counter draws. Meanwhile, my Germans are having a hell of a time finding, fixing, and engaging the Americans, much less making any progress up that Call logging trail. Worst of all, you guys saw where I lost my 88mm. Now, my one consolation there is that Mark was so focused on taking out this piece of artillery that all my other units were left more or less in peace to advance into positions where hopefully I can finally get a chokehold on some of these American units. And I don't want to spoil anything, but suffice it to say that in part 2 of this video, my Germans make one hell of a comeback. It's very quick and very sharp, really just the activation of maybe 5 or 6 units, but just that fast, my Germans are right back in this thing. So please come back next week and see how our Battlegroup game in the bloody Hürtgen Forest finally shakes out. But that's where we're going to leave it for now, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Please remember to hit that notification bell. Also, please consider joining the Sitrep Podcast Discord. There's an auto-accept invitation link to our Discord in the description of this video. Join our community, see what everybody's up to, and best of all, show us what's happening on your hobby table. But for now, this is Hürtgen Jim with the Sitrep Podcast. We are rounds complete for another episode, and as always, Tango Mike for watching.